First Contact and Ultimatum. The Hyperion glided silently through the darkness between Jupiter and Saturn, its fusion engines barely a whisper against the void. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the observation deck, watching the rings of Saturn grow larger in the viewport. After 5 years of deep space survey missions, the Hyperion had mapped more of the outer solar system than any vessel before it. Humanity's expansion beyond Earth was accelerating, with colonies on Mars and mining operations throughout the asteroid belt. Progress felt inevitable. Captain, we're detecting anomalous energy readings at bearing 047 Mark 12. Lieutenant Commander Jackson's voice came through the comm system, interrupting her moment of contemplation. Classification, Reyes asked, already moving toward the bridge. Unknown, ma'am. Nothing like this in our database. Massive power signature, approaching from beyond Saturn's orbit. By the time Reyes reached the bridge, the situation had evolved from curious to alarming. The main display showed dozens of vessels emerging from what appeared to be spatial distortions just beyond Saturn's outermost rings. They moved with impossible precision, their hulls gleaming with an iridescent material that seemed to shift colors as they approached. "Hail them on all frequencies," Reyes ordered, her voice steady despite the uncertainty churning in her stomach. First contact protocols had been established decades ago, but facing the real thing made theoretical training seem woefully inadequate. "No response to our hails," Communications Officer Paddle reported, fingers dancing across her console. "Wait, incoming transmission. It's bypassing our communication systems entirely." The bridge view screen flickered, and an image resolved into view. The being that appeared was vaguely humanoid, but with proportions that seemed subtly wrong. Its skin had a metallic sheen, and its eyes were vertical slits that glowed with an inner light. "People of Earth, I am Sentinel Zorax of the Nexeri hegemony. Your expansion into space has been noted and evaluated. You have been found wanting." The alien's voice resonated with harmonics that made Reyes's teeth ache. She stepped forward, drawing on years of diplomatic training. "I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth exploration vessel Hyperion. We come in peace and seek friendly relations with." "Your intentions are irrelevant," Zorax interrupted, the vertical slits of its eyes narrowing. "The Nexeri have observed 73 developing species in this sector. Only 8 have been permitted to advance to interstellar status. Your species exhibits dangerous traits, aggressive expansion, technological adaptation without foresight, and neural plasticity that exceeds acceptable parameters." Reyes felt her crew's eyes on her as she struggled to formulate a response. "We have overcome much of our violent history. Our expansion is peaceful. You will return to your homeworld," Zorax continued as if she hadn't spoken. "All extraplanetary installations will be abandoned. You will be contained to your planet of origin until the Nexeri Oversight Council determines if your species can be rehabilitated. You have 7 rotations of your world to comply. Deviation from these terms will result in extinction." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "They're maintaining position near Saturn," Tactical Officer Chen reported after a moment. "I count at least 50 vessels, likely more behind the rings. Energy readings suggest weapons capabilities far beyond our own." Reyes stared at the screen, her mind racing. "Patel, priority transmission to Earth Central Command. Full encryption. Jackson, prepare for emergency return trajectory. Maximum sustainable burn." As the Hyperion changed course, accelerating toward Earth, Reyes couldn't shake the feeling that everything humanity had built was about to be tested in ways no one had anticipated. The United Earth Defense Council chambers hadn't been this full since the Resource Wars 30 years prior. Representatives from every major nation and colony sat around the circular table, their faces grim as Admiral Wei Chen presented the tactical analysis. "The Nexeri vessels have established a perimeter throughout the solar system," Chen explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing red markers scattered from Venus to beyond Neptune. "Their technology appears to be at least 3 centuries beyond our current capabilities. Direct confrontation would be Inadvisable. Elena Reyes sat silently, having delivered her first-hand account of the encounter. Now she watched as humanity's leaders grappled with an existential threat. "So we simply surrender," General Okafor of the African Union demanded, slamming his fist on the table. "Abandon our colonies. Retreat to Earth like chastised children." "The alternative is extinction," replied the Chinese premier coolly. "Perhaps we should consider compliance while we develop countermeasures covertly." Dr. Sophia Rahman, director of advanced research, had remained silent until now. She activated her console, and a holographic display changed to show a complex schematic of neural pathways alongside what appeared to be technological interfaces. "The Nexari mentioned our neural plasticity as a concern," Rahman said, her voice quiet but commanding attention. "This aligns with research my division has been conducting for the past decade, Project Prometheus." Reyes noticed several council members shifting uncomfortably at the mention of the project. It was classified beyond her security clearance, but rumors had circulated about experimental neural interfaces that allowed direct human-machine integration at unprecedented levels. "Explain," ordered Council President Martinez. Rahman nodded. 10 years ago, we discovered that certain individuals possess a rare neural architecture that allows for direct neural integration with advanced computational systems. Not simply controlling technology, but merging with it, a true symbiosis that allows for adaptation and evolution of both the human mind and the technological systems. "And how does this help us against an alien armada?" Okafor demanded. "Because," Rahman continued, "our research suggests this ability is uniquely human, and based on the Nexari's specific concern about our neural plasticity, I believe they fear this potential. They've encountered something like this before, and it frightens them." President Martinez leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we weaponize this research?" "I'm suggesting we use the one advantage the Nexari believe we have," Rahman replied. "We have prototype vessels designed for neural integration. Small, stealthy, but incredibly responsive in the hands of compatible pilots. Not enough to win a conventional war, but perhaps enough to demonstrate that containing humanity won't be as simple as they believe." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. "How many compatible pilots do we have?" Admiral Chen asked finally. 12 confirmed worldwide," Rahman answered. 5 are currently at our Luna facility. The others would need to be recalled immediately." Martinez looked around the table, meeting each council member's eyes before speaking. "We face extinction either way. Surrender and lose everything that makes us human, or fight and risk immediate destruction. I say we show these Nexari why they were right to fear us in the first place." The vote was unanimous. Captain Elena Reyes hadn't expected to find herself at the Prometheus facility on Luna, watching as 12 men and women were prepped for what could be humanity's last stand. When Rahman had requested her presence, she'd assumed it would be for debriefing purposes. Instead, she found herself appointed as mission coordinator for what was being called Operation Defiance. "These are the neural interface pods," Rahman explained, leading Reyes through a secure section of the facility where sleek obsidian vessels rested in launch cradles. They resembled predatory fish, their hulls flowing in organic curves unlike any spacecraft Reyes had seen before. Each vessel responds directly to the pilot's neural impulses. Reaction time is measured in milliseconds rather than seconds. Reyes approached one of the vessels, noticing the subtle iridescence of its hull, not unlike the Nexari ships. "Is this reverse-engineered from their technology?" Rahman shook her head. "No. This is entirely human innovation, though it seems we may have been on a parallel development path with the Nexari. That might explain their concern." A tall man with burn scars across the left side of his face approached them, moving with the distinctive gait of someone used to lunar gravity. "Captain Reyes, meet Major Marcus Chen," Rahman said. "He'll be leading the squadron." Chen nodded curtly. Former Orbital Defense Force, one of the first volunteers for the Neural Integration Program. His voice was raspy, suggesting throat damage along with his facial scarring. The team consists of 12 pilots, Raman continued. All exhibit exceptional neural plasticity. Most are military, but we have 3 civilians whose neural patterns were too perfectly matched to overlook. Reyes followed them to a briefing room where the pilots had gathered. They were a diverse group, ranging in age from what appeared to be early 20s to mid-40s. Some wore military insignia, while others were clearly civilians, looking both determined and terrified. The mission is straightforward, Chen explained once Reyes had been introduced. We deploy from Luna on a stealth trajectory. The Nexeri have established their command vessel in Earth orbit as a show of force. We'll approach using the blind spots in their sensor grid that Dr. Raman's team has identified, then execute a coordinated strike on their command vessel's communication array. Not to destroy it, Raman added quickly, just to demonstrate our capabilities and open a channel for negotiation from a position of strength rather than submission. And if they respond with full force, asked a young woman with close-cropped hair and intense eyes. Then we've lost nothing, Chen replied bluntly. Earth is doomed either way if we can't change their assessment of us. As the briefing continued, Reyes studied the faces of these 12 individuals who represented humanity's desperate gambit. There was fear there, certainly, but also a fierce determination that reminded her why, despite all its flaws, humanity deserved its place among the stars. The Nexeri deadline was approaching. In 48 hours, humanity would either begin its retreat from space or launch a desperate act of defiance. As Reyes watched the pilots prepare for neural integration training, she wondered which path would lead to their survival, and whether survival alone was enough. The counterattack. Major Marcus Chen felt the familiar cold rush as the neural interface fluid filled his integration chamber. The viscous liquid enveloped his body, and with practiced discipline, he allowed his consciousness to expand into the ship's systems. There was always that moment of vertigo, of self-dissolving, before his awareness snapped back. Expanded now, his perception extending to include the vessel's sensors and systems, as if they were extensions of his own body. Neural synchronization at 97%, came Dr. Raman's voice, distant yet clear through the direct neural feed. That's your best yet, Major. Chen didn't respond verbally. Instead, he sent a confirmation ping through the system. Around him, or more accurately, around his vessel, he could sense the other 11 pilots going through their own integration processes. Each neural signature was distinct, a unique pattern that pulsed with individual characteristics. He'd come to recognize them all during the intensive training of the past 48 hours. There was Rivera, the former fighter pilot whose neural architecture burned hot and fast. Doctors Catry and Jones, theoretical physicists whose patterns interwove with the quantum calculation systems in ways the military pilots couldn't match. The Nakamura twins, whose synchronized brainwaves created harmonic resonances that allowed for unprecedented coordination. And the others, each bringing unique abilities to the neural network they would form during the mission. All pilots, final systems check, Captain Reyes ordered from the command center. Nexeri patrols have maintained their standard patterns. Launch window opens in 6 minutes. Chen ran through his pre-launch sequence, feeling rather than seeing the responses from his vessel's systems. The neural interface transformed complex system diagnostics into intuitive sensations. His weapon systems felt ready in the same way his arms would feel prepared to lift something. His propulsion generated a sensation of coiled energy in what his brain interpreted as his lower back. This is Chen. Alpha Squadron is ready for deployment. He projected confidence through the neural link, knowing the others would sense his emotional state as clearly as his words. Fear was contagious in a neural network, but so was determination. Deployment cradles retracting, Raman reported. Stealth systems active. Remember, maintain neural coherence, but minimize crosstalk until you clear Luna orbit. The Nexeri may be able to detect high-bandwidth neural transmissions. The sensation of falling replaced the weightlessness as the launch cradles released the 12 obsidian vessels into the darkness on the far side of Luna, hidden from both Earth and the Nexari fleet. Chen felt the cold embrace of vacuum against his hull. No, not his hull. The ship's hull, he reminded himself. Neural integration made the distinction blur, especially in high-stress situations. The squadron moved in perfect formation, their sleek forms barely visible against the starfield as they accelerated away from Luna, using its mass to shield them from detection. Approaching orbital transition point, Chen subvocalized, the words transmitting directly through the neural link. "Prepare for acceleration on my mark." The squadron's formation tightened as they reached the critical juncture where they would break from Luna's shadow and make their run toward the Nexari command vessel. This was the most dangerous phase. Once they accelerated, their energy signatures would be detectable despite their stealth systems. Mark. 12 vessels leaped forward simultaneously, their experimental drives creating minimal energy wakes as they accelerated to attack velocity. Chen felt the exhilaration of speed, the sensation translating through the neural interface as a rush of endorphins. "Contact in 30 seconds, Rivera reported, her neural signature pulsing with predatory focus. "No indication they've detected us." The Nexari command vessel loomed before them, a massive structure resembling a crystalline lotus, its pedals housing various systems that Raman's team had painstakingly analyzed and targeted. At its center was the communication hub, their primary objective. "Remember the mission," Chen reminded the squadron as their vessels closed the distance. "Targeting precision is essential. Disable, don't destroy." The first indication that something was wrong came when the Nexari vessel's outer pedals began to shift, reconfiguring in a way that hadn't been observed in previous scans. "They've detected us." Katri's voice came through the link, tight with tension. "Maintain course," Chen ordered. "Weapons hot, target assigned systems only." What should have been a precise surgical strike devolved almost instantly into chaos. As the human squadron closed to attack range, the Nexari vessel erupted with defensive countermeasures, not conventional weapons, but waves of energy that washed over the approaching ships. Chen felt it through the neural interface, a strange, prodding sensation that seemed to touch his mind directly. Around him, several pilots cried out as the same energy affected them. "What is this?" Jones demanded, her neural signature fluctuating wildly. "They're attacking our neural interfaces directly." Raman's voice cut through the chaos. "They're targeting the connection between pilot and ship." Chen gritted his teeth against the invasive pressure and pushed forward. "Continue the attack. Now." The squadron broke formation, each vessel executing its assigned attack vector. Chen drove his ship toward the primary communication array, weapons primed. As he closed distance, something unexpected happened. His neural interface began to adapt to the Nexari energy pattern, his brain rewiring its connections in real time to resist the alien intrusion. "They're trying to disrupt the neural link," he broadcast to the others. "Focus on maintaining integration. Your mind can adapt if you let it." He fired his vessel's primary weapon, a focused graviton beam that sliced through the outer defense of the communication array. Around him, the other pilots who had managed to maintain neural coherence were engaging their targets with varying degrees of success. The Nakamura twins moved in perfect synchronization, their vessels dancing through the Nexari defenses with impossible grace. Their neural signatures had merged completely, creating something new and powerful in the network. "Major," came Ekar and Nakamura's voice, strangely altered. "Something's happening. We can sense their network, the Nexari ships. They're linked together like we are." "Focus on the mission," Chen snapped, executing a tight evasive maneuver as energy weapons from the Nexari vessel lashed out at his ship. "No, you don't understand." Yuki Nakamura joined her brother. "We can see into their network. They're afraid. Not just cautious, terrified. They call us the evolving ones." Chen had no time to process this as his vessel took a glancing hit, sending feedback screaming through his neural connection. He maintained control, pushing through the pain to complete his attack run. His graviton beam connected with the central hub of the communication array, severing its connection to the rest of the vessel. "Primary target neutralized," he reported, banking away from the command ship. "All units, report status." The responses came in rapid succession: 9 vessels intact, 2 damaged but operational, and 1 lost. Dr. Jones had been hit directly, her vessel destroyed instantly. "They're launching pursuit craft," Rivera warned. "Dozens of them." "Implement retreat protocol," Chen ordered. "Return to Luna base via designated escape vectors." As the squadron scattered, executing their pre-planned escape routes, Chen noticed the Nexari pursuit craft focusing primarily on the Nakamura twins. Something about what the twins had discovered had triggered an escalated response. "Nakamuras, you've got multiple hostiles on your vector," he warned. "We see them," came Akira's voice, unnaturally calm. "But we see so much more now. The neural architecture, it's changing, adapting." Before Chen could respond, his tactical display lit up with new alerts. The Nexari fleet, previously maintaining its perimeter around Earth, had begun to move. Not toward the retreating squadron, but toward Luna. "Raman, we've got incoming," Chen warned. "The Nexari fleet is moving on Luna." "We see them," Rise responded, her voice tight. "All defense systems activated." But the transmission cut off abruptly as the first Nexari vessels reached lunar orbit and opened fire. Chen watched in horror through his vessel's sensors as the Prometheus facility, humanity's last best hope, erupted in blossoms of explosive decompression. "Luna base is hit," he broadcast to the squadron. "Implement contingency alpha. Rendezvous at designated coordinates." As he altered course toward the emergency rendezvous point in the asteroid belt, Chen felt the weight of failure crushing down on him. The mission had succeeded in damaging the Nexari command ship's communications, but at what cost? Luna base destroyed, Dr. Raman and Captain Reyes likely dead, and the Nexari now fully aware of humanity's neural integration capabilities. Yet something nagged at the back of his mind: the Nakamura's discovery, and the Nexari's extreme reaction to it. The aliens were afraid, not just cautious. They called humans the evolving ones. There was something there, something important that might yet give humanity a fighting chance. Hours later, the surviving vessels regrouped at an abandoned mining facility deep in the asteroid belt. 10 pilots had survived, though Rivera's neural systems were compromised from damage to her vessel. As they established a secure base within the facility, the Nakamura twins remained in neural integration with their ships, probing deeper into what they had glimpsed of the Nexari network. "They'd done this before," Yuki explained, as the group gathered in what had once been the facility's operations center. "The Nexari have encountered 17 species with neural adaptation potential similar to ours. 16 were contained or eliminated." "And the 17th?" Chen asked, Akira's eyes, still showing the characteristic dilation of active neural integration, focused on Chen. "They evolved beyond the Nexari's ability to control. That was 3,000 years ago. The Nexari have been hunting for signs of similar potential ever since, determined to prevent it from happening again." Chen processed this information. "So our neural integration technology is exactly what they fear most," Yuki finished. "Humans combining with technology, adapting, evolving into something new, something they can't predict or control." The tactical display they'd salvaged showed the Nexari fleet consolidating around Earth, with additional vessels taking up positions throughout the solar system. The message was clear: surrender or be eradicated. "We've got less than 24 hours before their deadline expires," Chen said, studying the display. "And now they know exactly what we're capable of." "Not exactly," Rivera interjected, wincing as one of the others treated her physical injuries. "They know we can integrate with our vessels, but they haven't seen what the Nakamuras can do, reaching into their network." Chen turned to the twins. "Could you do more than observe? Could you interfere with their systems? The twins exchanged a glance, their neural link allowing for communication beyond words. Theoretically, Akira said slowly, but we'd need to be much closer to their command vessel. And after what happened at Luna, they'll be expecting us. Chen's scared face hardened with resolve. Then we'll give them exactly what they expect. And something they don't. As the remaining pilots gathered around, Chen outlined a desperate plan. Not just a strike against the Nexari command vessel, but an attempt to turn the aliens' fear of human evolution into a reality. It was reckless, likely suicidal, but as Earth faced extinction, caution no longer mattered. The only question was whether humanity's unique gift for adaptation would prove sufficient against an enemy that had spent millennia perfecting the art of species extermination. Defiance and ascension. Earth hung in the viewport like a blue-green jewel surrounded by the crystalline forms of the Nexari fleet. From the observation deck of their commandeered mining vessel, Major Marcus Chen watched as the deadline for humanity's surrender approached. The Nexari had not responded to any communication attempts since the attack on their command ship, but their intentions were clear. A raid around Earth was enough firepower to reduce the planet's surface to molten slag. Final preparations are complete, Rivera reported, entering the observation deck with a slight limp from her injuries. Neural interfaces are modified according to the Nakamura specifications, but, she hesitated, the projections for neural load are beyond safe parameters. These modifications could kill us all even if the Nexari don't. Chen nodded, his scared face impassive. Everyone understands the risks. Better to burn out trying than wait for extinction. The plan they had developed was desperation dressed as strategy. Using the Nakamura twins' unprecedented ability to reach into the Nexari network, they would attempt to establish a direct neural interface with the alien command ship, not just attacking it, but merging with it, using humanity's unique adaptive capabilities to evolve beyond what the Nexari could predict or counter. "The fleet is moving," came Katri's voice over the intercom. Energy signatures consistent with weapons charging. Chen's jaw tightened. They're not even waiting for their own deadline. Commence launch sequence. All pilots to integration chambers. Minutes later, Chen felt the cold embrace of the neural interface fluid surrounding him again. This time, however, the integration felt different, sharper, almost painful, as the modified interface pushed his neural connections beyond their design parameters. Neural synchronization at 103%, reported the automated system. Warning: neural pathway strain exceeding safety thresholds. Around him, he could sense the other pilots establishing similar connections, their neural signatures pulsing with a new intensity in the shared network. The Nakamura twins' patterns had changed most dramatically, their formerly synchronized waves now forming complex interference patterns that created something entirely new. "All vessels, launch on my mark," Chen broadcast through the neural link. "Maintain stealth approach until we reach the designated convergence point. Remember, we only get one shot at this." The 9 remaining vessels detached from the mining ship, their obsidian hulls absorbing what little light reached the outer solar system. They accelerated toward Earth in a loose formation, each pilot feeling the enhanced neural connection, pushing their consciousness into new configurations. "I can sense them more clearly now," Yuki Nakamura reported, her voice echoing strangely through the neural link. The Nexari network. It's vast, interconnected across all their vessels. "Focus on identifying access vulnerabilities," Chen directed. "We need to establish connection with their command ship as soon as we're in range." As they approached the outer defensive perimeter of the Nexari fleet, the first warning signs appeared. Enemy vessels began changing formation, moving to intercept trajectories despite the human squadron's stealth systems. "They've detected us," Rivera confirmed. "Different detection method this time. They're tracking our neural emissions directly." Chen had anticipated this. Implement countermeasure Omega. Full neural broadcast. This was the first gambit. Rather than hiding their neural signatures, they would amplify them. broadcasting directly into the Nexari detection systems with overwhelming force. It was like setting off a flashbang in a dark room, temporarily overloading the sensitivity of the aliens' neural detectors. The effect was immediate. The nearest Nexari vessels faltered in their intercept courses, their formations becoming erratic as their systems struggled to process the flood of neural data. Convergence point in 30 seconds, Chen announced. Prepare for Phase 2. The human vessels accelerated through the gap they created, driving toward the massive command ship at the center of the Nexari formation. As they closed distance, Chen felt a strange pressure building in his mind. Not just the strain of the enhanced neural interface, but something new, a resonance pattern emerging from the interaction between the human neural network and the alien systems they were approaching. Is everyone feeling that? He asked through the link. It's the quantum resonance effect, Chaudhry explained, his scientific mind still analyzing despite the danger. Our neural patterns are establishing harmonic frequencies with their systems, just as the Nakamura's predicted. The resonance intensified as they reached the command ship, a sensation like standing in the path of an invisible tsunami. Chen fought to maintain control of his vessel as the overlapping fields of neural energy created interference patterns that rippled through both human and Nexari systems. Now, Chen ordered, execute final approach. Nakamura's, establish the bridge. The twins' vessels moved ahead of the formation, positioning themselves directly above what Ramen's analysis had identified as the central processing node of the command ship. Their neural signatures, already transformed by the modified interface, began to pulse in complex patterns that extended beyond their vessels, reaching toward the alien ship. Contact established, Akira reported, his voice barely recognizable, overlaid with harmonics that mimicked the Nexari communication patterns. Neural bridge forming. What happened next defied conventional understanding. The Nakamuras had theorized it, and their desperate modifications to the neural interfaces had been designed to enable it. But experiencing it was something else entirely. Chen felt his consciousness expand beyond his vessel, drawn along the neural bridge the twins had established, into the vast network of the Nexari command ship. It was overwhelming. Alien thought patterns, data structures organized according to principles his human mind struggled to comprehend. Around him, he sensed the other pilots experiencing the same expansion, their neural patterns stretching, adapting, evolving to interface with the alien system. They're trying to sever the connection, Rivera warned, her consciousness stretched thin across the bridge. Counterattacking our neural patterns directly. Chen pushed deeper into the alien network, no longer passively observing but actively engaging. He found himself in what felt like a vast virtual space, where data and consciousness blurred together. Here, the Nexari weren't just controlling their ships, they were merged with them. A collective consciousness spread across their entire fleet. I understand now, Chen broadcast to his team. They're not just afraid of what we might become. They're afraid because they recognize themselves in us. They followed this same evolutionary path millennia ago. As the human pilots established deeper connections within the Nexari network, their neural patterns began to influence the alien systems, not with brute force, but through the same adaptive evolution that the Nexari feared, human consciousness learning, changing, growing to encompass the alien technology. They're trying to purge us, Chaudhry warned. Massive energy surge building in their weapon systems. Chen could feel it, the collective will of the Nexari commanders, pushing to eradicate the human intrusion. But something else was happening too. As the human neural patterns adapted to the alien network, they created new configurations, unexpected pathways that the Nexari couldn't predict or counter quickly enough. Push harder, Chen ordered. Full neural integration with their command systems. The pain was excruciating as their consciousnesses stretched beyond designed limits, but the effect was undeniable. Throughout the Nexari fleet, systems began to falter as the adaptive human neural patterns created cascading disruptions. In the virtual space of the merged network, Chen found himself confronting what seemed to be the centralized consciousness of the Nexari command structure. a gestalt entity that radiated both ancient power and intense fear. "You cannot comprehend what you are becoming," the entity communicated, not in words, but in direct conceptual transfer. "The evolution cannot be controlled. That's humanity's greatest strength," Chen responded. "We don't fear what we might become." With that thought, Chen pushed his consciousness fully into the Nexari systems, allowing his neural patterns to merge completely with the alien technology. Around him, the other pilots did the same, their individual patterns creating a harmonic resonance that amplified their collective impact. For a moment that stretched into eternity, human and Nexari consciousness intertwined, information and understanding flowing between species that had been poised to destroy one another. Chen glimpsed the Nexari history, their own evolution through neural technology, their expansion across the stars, and the fear that had driven them to prevent other species from following the same path. And the Nexari, in turn, experienced humanity's unique perspective, the chaotic, unpredictable creativity that drove human innovation, the resilience that had allowed them to overcome countless challenges, and the determination that had brought 9 pilots to face an alien armada with nothing but modified neural interfaces and desperate courage. When Chen's awareness returned to his physical form, the neural fluid draining from his integration chamber, he knew something fundamental had changed. The other pilots were emerging from their chambers too, each bearing the same dazed expression that spoke of experiences beyond words. "The Nexari fleet," Rivera said, checking the status displays. "They're withdrawing." Outside the viewport, the crystalline vessels were indeed moving away from Earth, establishing a distant orbital pattern that no longer threatened immediate destruction. "They understand us now," Akira Nakamura said softly. "And we understand them." A communication channel opened, displaying not the alien form they had seen before, but a hybrid interface designed for human comprehension. "Humanity has demonstrated evolutionary potential beyond our projections," came the message, still carrying those strange harmonics, but now comprehensible on a deeper level. "The Nexari hegemony acknowledges your right to development without restriction." Chen stepped forward. "And what happens now?" "Now," the response came, "we learn from each other. What you accomplish through desperate adaptation, we achieve through millennia of careful development. Together, both approaches may lead to new understanding." As the surviving pilots gathered on the observation deck, watching the Nexari fleet assume a non-threatening formation, Chen reflected on the irony of the situation. The very quality that had marked humanity for containment or extinction, their unpredictable, adaptive neural plasticity, had ultimately saved them. "They're establishing a permanent diplomatic presence in orbit," Rivera reported, reviewing the incoming data, "and offering technological exchange focused on neural interface systems." "They're still afraid," Chatri observed, "but now it's tempered with respect." Chen nodded, his scared face relaxing into the first genuine smile since the crisis began. "That's a starting point we can work with." In the weeks that followed, as Earth rebuilt its lunar facilities and established formal relations with the Nexari hegemony, the pilots who had formed the neural bridge became something new, neither fully human nor alien, but interfaces between two civilizations that had nearly destroyed each other. The Nexari brought stability and the wisdom of ancient experience. Humanity contributed adaptability and innovative chaos. Together, they began to explore neural evolution pathways that neither species had discovered alone. And as the first joint human-Nexari exploration vessels prepared to venture beyond the solar system, Major Marcus Chen stood on the observation deck of the new Prometheus station, watching his homeworld rotate below. Humanity had faced extinction, and instead found transcendence, not through surrender, but through the very qualities that made them human. The Nexari had been right to fear humanity's potential, but they had been wrong to believe that potential could only lead to destruction. As the stars beckoned, Chen knew that humanity's greatest journey was just beginning, an evolution limited only by imagination, and the courage to become something more than they had been before.